I hold all the things I come across now after
Mm,
believing something so strongly and holding
mm,
on to it, like squeezing the life out of it. I tell my kids any ideas that I have, any beliefs that I have, I hold them gently like I'm holding potato chips. I don't want to be the person that's just going to bash them over the head with my thoughts because I feel like we're just all evolving and learning and growing. And if I hold on to a concept I've come up with and then I realize and change and grow in 3, 5 years, as we should,
mm.
how hard is it to, like, let go and evolve and grow and go, "Oh, I don't really think that way anymore."
Welcome back to Kintsugi Heroes, helping people tell the stories they need to share so you can find the stories that you need to hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the podcast, my Kintsugi Heroes followers. If I have any, that's a broad claim, but I'm gonna sit on it comfortably, right? Good things come to those who manifest that thought. So, Kintsugi Heroes listeners, welcome to another podcast of Stories That Matter. And I tend to mention to my listeners, Sarah, that this one is a particularly exciting conversation, and I can do that without shadow of a spin. That this is exactly, this is another exciting question, conversation. Why can I do that? Because I have seen you in action, right? Dear listeners, welcome. Please join me in welcoming Sarah Rowan to Kintsugi Heroes. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, John. Pumped to
Um,
be here.
Awesome. I'm pumped to see that you're just declaring something very bold. There's always a little bit of psychology involved in the naming of our sessions, right? So, and of course, we make political and psychological statements, right? So, here are my pronouns. Here are my associations, my employment. I identify as a role, not a person. You know, um, your label, artist Sarah Rowan, particularly relevant because, like, you are surrounded by your art. You are obviously an artist because we can see your backdrop, right? So, I want to start today's chat by saying, have you always been an artist?
Heck no. I was a dabbler in just about everything, the Lego, I even did Barbie for a while, but I preferred GI Joes, surprise, surprise. I always liked just using my hands to do things, and so that usually led to sport, and I was far more engaged with sport as a child, and like any good lesbian, I think I did about 7 sports in high
Yeah,
school.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's yeah, we can explore that link later sometime. But um, eh, were they tools, like an external way to express yourself, or was the desire to create something you were just exploring what was the best medium?
I think as humans, we have a capacity and a desire and an innate inborn drive to create. I think we are creative beings, and whether that's baking a cake or writing a poem or creating, like, heck, we look at the sky
Yeah, yeah,
and how fun is it to just go, "I see an elephant, what do you see?" Just looking at the
yeah,
clouds, like, we can
yeah,
create with our words, our thoughts, our actions, with our hands, our feet, knees, whatever. I have painted with my elbows, like, it doesn't really matter, I think, the medium. I think it's this inborn innate desire within humans to create, and when we don't do that, we get stagnant, we get depressed, we get frustrated, we don't even know why, and I think it's because we just get so suffocated by not being human
yeah,
beings. Like,
yeah.
we're not human doings, we're human beings, and the part of being is just, like, using our imaginations to create. So I found this path to creativity in the in a path of sport, actually, because I was in Brazil at the time for a camp where I was teaching children how to play basketball in the summer between high school and university.
Mm.
And I thought, "I can't really communicate with these children. I wanna tell them they've got a purpose, they've got
Mm.
awesome future," and it's all, like, create in your head because we can create our future with our
Yeah.
thoughts, right? So, I drew a picture with stick figures, and I communicated it through charades that was really pathetic, I'm sure. My drama skills weren't that great, and stick figures, and you could see the penny dropping with these
Yeah.
12-year-olds. They're just getting so excited and connected, some were even crying, and I thought, "Wow, art really can communicate far past any barriers that I feel like I have, whether it's language, age, religion,
Yeah.
politics, location, belief systems, whatever it is." I loved how imagery, just like music can do that too. You can hear a song and you don't even have to know the language it's in, and you can feel joy or sadness because of the energy and the frequency that's coming out of it. I believe the same as with art. So I just naturally stumbled into this connected, like this energy of connection through art, and decided in that one moment with those stick figures, I was like, "This is what I wanna do.
Mm.
This is what I
Yeah.
want to excel at."
The response, the ability to find people who understood something that you were able to say in a different language to what you'd normally express was purpose as a result of being in the right spot, using the right tools, and it was right for you. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think we all hear questions differently. We can watch the same
Mm.
movie and both see 2 different movies. So what I think I heard you saying was that the path I had been on prior influenced that connection moment, and I think so, in the sense that I was raised where I was told I could do anything, I could excel at anything, I
Mm.
could become who I ever I wanted to be, aside from being gay, so that was a bit of a little
Yeah.
stumbling block bump on the road, but my parents instilled in me, they're like, "If you wanna be an artist, you can be an artist. If you wanna be an athlete, you can be an athlete,"
Mm.
which was so revolutionary in the 1990s, where all my peers were being told, "Get a real job." Do
Wow. Yeah.
something
Mm.
do
Uh,
something that will pay.
yeah. Grew up in South Carolina, so
Yeah, my teen years were in the buckle of the Bible Belt in Greenville, South Carolina.
and your family were, would you say they were typical of families of that, at that space?
Yes, sir. We had our manners, had our kindness, went to church on Sunday, Wednesday, and of course, I went on Mondays and Tuesdays as well because I was, like, extra keen on being the perfect human, and
Nice. How'd that go for you? Right.
oh, there's been some plot twists to my life for sure, but, in the past week, I've realized, and I hold all the things I come across now after
Mm,
believing something so strongly and holding
mm,
on to it, like squeezing the life out of it. I tell my kids, any ideas that I have, any beliefs that I have, I hold them gently like I'm holding potato chips. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I don't wanna be the person that's just gonna bash them over the head with my thoughts, because I feel like we're just all evolving and learning and growing, and if I hold on to a concept I've come up with, and then I realize and change and grow in 3, 5 years, as we should,
Yeah,
how hard is it to, like, let go and evolve and grow and go, "Oh, I don't really think that way anymore." I've kind
yeah.
of I've softened in my older graying years, and and so I've realized that we can change our past,
Mm,
in the sense that in my 20s and 30s, I had such a negative thought about my past, in the sense that I had
yeah,
been confined to a certain belief system and it was suffocating the life out
mm,
of me and blah, blah, blah. And now as I get older, I was like, it is what it is. That's what I went through. I
mm,
don't see it as a negative. I can see all the gold in all that
mm.
brokenness. Kintsugi, hello, little name drop
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah,
I can
no,
see all of those moments, and I think in our younger years, we just see the brokenness and the shards, and
yeah,
there's unforgiveness and
Right.
frustration and angst. Whereas the older you get, you go, "Oh, I went through that for a purpose. I went through that for a
Right.
reason. I can see
Yeah.
all that gold filling in all those cracks and making me a stronger person."
Absolute gold for us, right? Because that is the Kintsugi sort of position. Process of filling those cracks and breaks in with that gold mortar, right, which creates
Mm.
something more valuable. I love that idea. It sounds like forgiveness to me, right? It sounds like maturing into a place where forgiveness lives, and of course, the trauma guru Bessel van der Kolk talks about it's or trauma is not the event we experienced; it's how we relate to it personally. And it
Ding, ding,
really
ding.
sounds like you've changed how you relate to those, the struggles and sort of barriers that you encountered as a kid.
Yeah, 100%. Full
Yeah.
stop, done.
I love that. I love you talking about, how, in many ways your childhood gave you lots. The, Christmas morning unveiling, and there's this wonderful toy, but no batteries, right? Uh, so was your life, a beautiful toy without really the sort of internal power that would turn into purpose? Is that how? Because you did so well at so many things.
Internal power is a great way to phrase it. I think religious upbringings, they can be very beneficial in some ways.
Yeah.
In the other sense, I don't know if this is across all belief systems, but in conservative Christianity, there is a sense of, how can I phrase this best? I'd say, because I'm very sensitive, I don't wanna be bashing anyone because I feel like
That's cool.
everyone's on their own journey, and I respect where I went through and what I was. I think there's this sense of lack of internal compass
Mm,
because you give over
mm,
the steering wheel to your life to a higher power,
mm,
and I feel like that suffocated who I was. I wasn't living authentically because that steering wheel wasn't a part of.
mm.
I was in the back seat. I wasn't
Yeah.
a part of my
Yeah.
life. I was just letting my parents and mentors and an ancient text rule everything.
I think that makes sense. Particularly in that idea of, I love the metaphor of you're in the back seat of your family culture, right? Which is dependent on a belief system. Um, but it's not God driving the car; it's the church driving the car,
Yeah,
right?
I definitely
And
see God and all that
yeah,
very differently than I did back then. But yeah,
have,
by the 20s and 30s, I was in the back seat screaming down the highway going, "I don't like what I'm seeing. This
yeah.
is not the path I wanna be on," and it led to years and years of depression and mental health issues.
Of course, equally, you're not allowed to be gay in that kind of fundamentalist upbringing, but you're also not allowed to be ill, right? You can't have a mental health or a mental distress, right? How did you handle that as well? Like, was that covered by achievement or by piety or, just the good mask?
I definitely got to the point where I would just try to be better, be kinder, be more loving, and it was all so exhausting.
Mm,
Like, just trying to be the best at everything, the best mother, the best traditional wife that I had caged myself into that experience as well, and it was yeah, I can't fathom living like that ever again, where you just feel tired from the moment you wake up, just
mm,
trying to be perfect. But by 18, I had so bought into the whole culture of my faith that I didn't even see anything wrong with it, and I didn't feel like I was being
mm.
suppressed. So by that point, I was probably even more, uh, Bible bashing than even my parents. I was just
Wow.
so gun ho at it.
How does that happen, right? You're like such a creative and intelligent person. how do you then decide that all you need to know is what somebody will tell you in a nice package?
I've been so conditioned, and I don't think you see it until you step away from it or you go
Yeah.
through a trial for so long. On the bright side, it did teach me lots of discipline and lots
Mm,
of love of others, and
mm.
I take the gold from it.
Yeah, yeah.
I try to
Beautiful.
just move on with life, and it feels like a whole 'nother lifetime ago. So I the every podcast, it almost becomes harder to even discuss because 'cause I'm like, "Hey, let's talk about the now. Let's talk about the future. Let's be present in the bliss of who we are and growing and being curious."
Um, I did wanna ask, like, I really enjoyed your, when I saw you in action, you then showed us, you illustrated your life with tattoos, right, which was really
I'd
fascinating.
never done
Uh,
that before. That was so much fun.
so it is that is, like, I have never seen that before, right, and that
Ladies and
but I
gentlemen, it was a bit risque because
yeah,
tattoos aren't just on my arms. They got more
but
than their money's worth.
can you explain how you got out and ended up in Australia as a place where you've expressed it as freedom, right? So
Well, that's interesting because I actually moved to Australia to go to Bible school when I was
yeah,
25 with my husband of 6 weeks at the time. So, I was in the thick of it still in Australia, but because so many people are free in this country, it helped be one of the massive dominoes that kinda helped get me to where I was by the time so I moved here at 25. By the time I was 38, I could no longer be someone I wasn't, and I use this metaphor when I do keynote speeches on creativity, and I think it applies to this question you've asked me, and I think that when we're born and I heard this metaphor, so I just stole it as my own, so it's not originally my idea, but I find so many people can, connect with this metaphor, is that when we're born a castle.
yeah.
And that castle has over 1,000 rooms, and in each and every one of those rooms is a gift waiting just for us, and we're
Wow.
fearless, we're curious, there's no shame, and we're just running through the castle that is our life, and then all of a sudden our parents or caregivers come up
Yeah.
to us and they're like, "Oh, we don't really use that room in this
Mm,
family," and boom, that door gets shut, and then you go to the playground and your friends are like, "You look silly in that room," and boom, that door gets shut. Then you go to school and your teachers, well-meaning as they are, they're like, "You're not really good in that room. How about you try this room?"
mm.
And by the time we reach adulthood, we believe we're nothing more than a mere two-bedroom apartment that needs work.
Wow.
But I believe that by the time we reach our 40s, when you hear all the stereotypical midlife crises
Mm,
happen, and that's when around when I did my massive,
mm,
chapter change of life, heck, a whole new book to my life,
mm,
I feel like that's when all the doors that we've shut start to shake and all
mm,
the rugs that we've shoved all the shit under start to we
mm.
start tripping over it and we go,
Yeah.
"I can't keep living like this." And there's this you come to a head with it and you're like, "Do I open these doors that I've kept suppressed? Do I dabble in pottery? Do I
Mm,
take the yoga class? Do I start gardening? Do I change relationships? Do I come out of the
mm.
closet?" All it's around that time, I feel like, at least with my generation, it's like, "Boom, I've got to deal with this." And so all these dominoes just started falling, and it got to the point where I couldn't live
Yeah.
one more month not as an authentic same-sex attracted woman, like, I just could not do that.
I've had epiphanies, right? That must be a particularly challenging moment when you go, "Okay, I'm done." Now, let's just install the new identity, right? You know, like, so, um, ho obviously, you knew certain things, whether you suppressed them or
Oh,
not.
since I was a teenager.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and medals to you for sticking so many bits of plaster and glue and so on all over your truth, right? So, getting married and, following the, teachings and, doing the good works. When you made that decision or when that decision became inevitable, um, Did you feel like it was you emerging, or did you feel like you had stepped into another identity, right? And so you look back and go, "Who is that person I was?" Yeah.
I felt like it was a whole fresh life. I felt like I was a year old. I felt like a child just coming out of this weird cocoon sci-fi film of life and suddenly breathing fresh air for the first time. And it was funny because I left a 12-year relationship with $24 to my name, 2 suitcases, and no superannuation.
Wow.
And as an artist that had never really made much money from my art, because at
Yeah.
the time, my kids were still young. They
Mm.
were 7 and 10 at this point, so I was just starting to get to the point where I could work longer
Yeah.
hours, because 'cause I'd been the traditional stay-at-home, make the dinner for the most part, and work as an artist on the side in the kitchen with a
Well,
painting. I felt like I was starting all over again, and around the 2-month mark, I got a flat tire. And you couldn't wipe the smile off my face. I was like, "You can't, like, I don't care, like, it can storm all at once." And I started Googling, "Where is the jack in my car?" I started
yeah.
watching a YouTube video on how to
Yeah.
change a tire, and this gentleman walks up to me, and he put both of his hands up in surrender, and he said, "It's the 21st century, and you look highly capable, but if you need my help, I'm here." I was like, "Wow, where are all the men in the world like you? Thank you for that introduction. Yes, please help me. Please, I don't wanna fall off the road." And after about 30 minutes, we're almost done, and I looked at him, I said, "So, what do you do for a living?" Not exactly the type of question I like asking because I prefer hobbies and
Yeah.
interests and,
Yeah.
"Hey, what are you
Yeah.
reading?" But that just question just naturally comes out sometimes. And he goes, "Oh, I'm the producer of Studio 10." And without missing a beat, I just looked him in the eye and I said, "Ah, that's why I have a flat tire. You need me on your show." And the next week, I was painting 3 live works on a show that's, watched by stay-at-home moms and old people, but it just gave me this, shoulders back a little. They don't
Yeah.
need to know that I could barely put petrol in my car to get here, but I'm here. And it was just one good, awesome stepping stone after another. And then the following month, I did a charity painting at a live
Mm.
event, and the painting went for 50 grand. And I was like, "What
Whoa.
what is happening? What is happening?" And
Yeah.
then my self-worth went up. And when your self-worth goes up, your prices increase as a live
Yeah.
speed painter and keynote speaker. And all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna add another 0 to everything." Like, just come on. I've been doing this
Wow.
now 21 years, and I love it.
Amazing. I would not have considered a niche for speed painting, right? So it's like it's an incredible adaptation to to the problems you had in life, like needing to make a living and sort of express your truth. What was the speed something you naturally did as part of your art expression, or was it an affectation? You said, "Oh, this might differentiate me in the market."
Well, when you graduate with an art degree, anyone listening, if you have, did they ever teach you how to make a living as an artist?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I walked
yeah,
across that stage and I was like, "Wait, wait, 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 I forgot to ask a question. What do I do with this now?"
yeah.
And so if you have a very odd skill that isn't normally valued in the marketplace, you have to think, what is your point of difference? And
Mm,
my point of difference was I love speaking in front of people. Most
yeah,
artists could think of nothing worse.
yeah.
And then the other aspect is I really don't mind if I fail in front of people,
Wow.
which as an artist, that can be very humbling. But because people are having an experience, they don't know that in my head I'm thinking I could have painted that better. They're like,
Yeah,
"Wow, that was freaking amazing. You did that in
yeah.
3.5 minutes. You did that in 30 minutes, whatever time constraints I might have." And you just get better the more you do it. So I've done over 600 events, raised almost 450,000 for charity, and you just get better and better the more you do something. And I'm
Mm,
just having a go and having a play and learning more skills as a speaker the whole time and helping unlock creativity with corporate companies. And I've discovered that people from the research that I've been studying is that people that dabble with creativity, the traditional word when I say creativity,
Mm.
because to me, creativity is just being curious. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be painting or drama. People that dabble in a creative act at least every 90 days, they increase their lifespan by
Yeah.
like 31%.
Wow.
So when you're sitting at a cafe, start doodling on that napkin and just
Yeah.
add some months to your life. Like, let's do this, people.
Wow.
Let's get going. It just helps reduce the um all the chemicals in the body of stress, and like releases all the dopamines and the serotonins and all the chemicals we need. And I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me on it. Do your own research, but
Paint and sip is huge, right? So, people will sit down and get to paint a palm tree while drinking Merlot and having a great time. It's almost like we know what we need. What I love about it is, using it as a connect. You talk about loving, sharing conversation, connection through speaking to people. Is that the real creativity? Is everything else just about, that moment at the Brazilian school where you found a way to express yourself in a way that was understood?
yes, I found that my art, if you were to go on Instagram and look at my art and then also look at the art of about 10 million other artists, you'd find it's kinda average, kinda, just okay. Maybe a little above par if you could, but if you're in the comparison mode.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I do
Mm.
wanna get better, but I know my purpose actually isn't so much the art as the story that's connected to the art. So
Yeah.
I found years ago that people weren't purchasing my art so much as the image. They were purchasing the art because of their connection to me as a human and what they
Yeah.
felt when they saw the piece and the story behind why I painted what I painted.
Yeah.
And as humans, I feel like we have begun to lose and need to regain that connection to story. We need more fireside chats. We
Yeah.
need to talk to the person sitting next to us on public transport and get the heck out of our phone,
Mm.
even though there's times when I do that because 'cause I'm just so tired of talking to people because I do it all the
Mm.
time.
We're only human.
We do need to recharge,
Mm.
but to take this moment and get to connect with people on a deeper level besides
Mm.
what what their political views are or what the weather is, like, let's really get to know people. I think we're kind of like trees in that my Sicilian and how they all the trees around the world can actually communicate to each other through these
Yeah, yeah,
elaborate
yeah.
tunnels.
Wow.
We've got that inside of
Mm.
us. We are more, I think, technologically created and advanced than the computer we're speaking on right now. We've
Yeah.
got all these beautiful connections, but we're not using them.
Yeah. Who
I think that, uh for those of you who don't have that connection to your children, make the effort. Like, there
Yeah.
is so much golden beauty, or in your coworkers that you just kind of don't really connect with. It's so good for your mental health, so good for your soul. Yeah, I cannot emphasize enough the joys of conversation. Even if you're not like great at conversation, you can get better at it. It's a
Oh,
skill.
absolutely. It's a skill, isn't it? It's and as you talk about, I'm detecting a theme of working to mastery, right? So, um, but growth is also evident. You don't become good at forgiveness without practice, and I call it doing the work, right? So
Oh,
you've
and if
obvious,
yeah, and if you suck at forgiveness, then the universe will throw more situations into your life for you
yeah,
to have to practice
yeah.
it.
Was that like and having a lifetime of being sort of locked into a Truman show of a life, right? Forgiveness, was that part of the recovery or part of the mechanism you use to become someone different?
It was probably one of the top 5, if not top 2, necessary aspects of getting through what at the time to me was so traumatic. and at the time was drama, trauma, 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 trauma. Like I had so much trauma stored in my body. It
Yeah.
had gone into inflammation by the time I was 30 and I couldn't walk. And I was
Yeah.
diagnosed with, debilitating rheumatoid arthritis and had to pump
Oh,
myself
geez.
full of drugs just to walk. Like and that's literally just inflammation of trauma and unforgiveness and
Mm.
rejection of self. Rejection is linked to arthritis. So I had to forgive myself for rejecting who I was. I had to forgive my parents, even though in a sense they didn't feel like they need to be forgiven because their
Yeah.
beliefs are their beliefs, and that's okay. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I had to kind of grow the hell up. It's all about perspective, right? So you see two people go through identical childhood trauma, and one person comes out soaring, and the other person comes out victim mentality and
Mm.
full of blame, and their lives are completely polar opposites.
Yeah. I love that thought. I often talk about journey from perception to perspective, right? So, and the idea you just it was beautifully expressed. The idea that people can have the same trauma, right? It's the response and the resources you have, right? So, when you look at the resources you utilized to get out and now want to pass on through sharing and story and so on. What's the number one resource in that whole acceptance, surrender, and reframe of wow, this is beautiful?
It's like how we speak to ourselves, I think. That
Yeah, yeah,
that self dialogue, that inner dialogue, my inner dialogue used to be so toxic. It was,
yeah,
I'm trapped in this. I can't get out. I said I do at the altar. There's
yeah,
no divorce
yeah,
my belief system. I'm stuck here. To I want to love myself. I can't teach my kids to love themselves if I don't love myself. I have to change. Something you've got to just get to the point where you go, I have the freaking pen and I am writing the story of my life and I'm sick of somebody else writing the story of my life.
yeah,
And yeah, the self-belief, that inner dialogue is so crucial. So I surround myself with incredible voices through uh podcast and YouTube and everything. Like right now, and it changes. So I'll get kind of like if you find one author that you like and you read all their books. For instance, Alif
yeah,
Shafak wrote There Are Rivers in the Sky, and I read that last year. And the next thing I knew, I read 5 of her books because the way she
yeah,
wrote was so beautiful.
yeah. Do you go through a process in the morning that say, right, this is going to be beautiful, right? My art is beautiful. My relationships are beautiful. My opportunities are beautiful.
I play with my imagination. I picture emails coming in of inquiries that I didn't seek out.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I pour water from my sink into my water filter, and as the water is going in, I speak a blessing over my day, my health, and I remember that throughout the whole day while I'm drinking that water. I have little rituals from lighting
Great.
incense to spending 15 to 20 minutes in the morning besides walking the dog, as in tidying and resetting the room, which I've also done the night before, but I can be a little bit messy as an artist. So sometimes it takes 15-minute settings and just reset the space. Because if we have a cluttered space, our subconscious sees clutter in our mind, and we
Yeah.
need clean spaces for that clarity and that vision. And some people swear that they can work in all the clutter. If you can, more power to you. But for me, it just tells my subconscious, you're not organized, you have no vision, you have no purpose, you have no. So for me, just that physical act of cleaning their space, it gets the blood flowing. And if I have had a rough month, because art and speaking can be a bit like a roller coaster. And
Yeah.
there's a going joke is that speakers work 80 hours a week so they don't have to work 40.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my goal for this year has been to reduce the height of that roller coaster, where
Yeah. Wow.
it's, not just a big month and then a little month, but just
Yeah.
a steady month, a steady
Wow.
process. Yeah.
It seems very enticing to have a steady month. Although wouldn't you miss the, big drop occasionally?
The big
Just
drop is very humbling, and in those times, I've learned not to get stressed or anxious because that
yeah.
does tells the universe, "Oh, she's not ready to receive. There's lack in her vibration. It's just not gonna come back." So
Mm,
I've just disciplined my mind and my soul to just stay calm in the drier months and use the time to paint works of art that I can sell instead of being ones that are rushed on a stage, or
yeah.
play music, or I'm working on another book. So all sorts of things.
Do you use art as a hideaway, like a place to go when things aren't working? Or is it a way to reconnect to the things that are important?
When you're driving or taking a shower or doing a task that you've done so many times that allows your frontal lobe to shut down and your
Mm, mm,
imagination to come through, and that's when you get the best ideas. It's scientifically proven.
mm,
Because I've done painting for so long, it creates that meditative space. So it
right.
does allow ideas to flow and come. Though I've also discovered that I get the best ideas when I'm getting a remedial massage. So it's a really expensive experience, but very
I'm gonna discover that too, right? That sounds like a great discovery, right?
half of my keynotes, all like the best ideas of how to engage with the audience or what sentences to use to land and serve them best, come when I'm getting my back rubbed and I'm just like shut down. I was like, oh, I need a pen to write this down. Don't forget it.
You go I'm interested in the visual impact, like, your paintings are striking, right? And as you say, they might be slightly above average in terms of technique, right? It's beautifully humble, but, they're very striking and and
Mm.
we don't know when you're watching it, you don't know what's gonna happen, and you, are a little bit of a showman in that. Sometimes you sort of direct our thoughts in one way,
Hey, I'm
and then
on
it comes
stage.
yeah, yeah. It's the whole package of entertainment, of
Right.
artistic entertainment. I love how you said, there's a bit of you in that, in the painting. That's what we're actually, that's the value rather than
Mm.
the image, right? Does that happen? How much of you do you leave? Is that a drain, or is that some way of seeding paintings and then harvesting something else that you get from that?
I definitely feel physically exhausted after events because I
Right.
give so much energy, so much output that even if I'm on stage for 5 minutes, it's usually taking about 9 hours to make that 5 minutes happen.
Yeah,
Preparing the canvas and
yeah.
making sure I didn't forget something. Oh my gosh, one time I forgot my paintbrushes, y'all, and I had to paint with my arms, and that led to a whole new stream of work because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can cover this canvas so much faster with my arms. This is great." But yeah, there is definitely a drain, so I definitely have to learn how to refill my tank. When I was 18 or so, I had so many mentors growing up in the Buckle the Bible Belt, y'all. And one of them said to me, Sarah, I go by Rowan now, but at the time I was Sarah.
Mm,
And she said, you have deep wells within you. And throughout your life, people will come to you to be refreshed.
mm.
But if you do not know how to refill those wells, those deep, deep wells, they will leave thirsty. And I didn't fully understand her words at the time,
Wow,
but they are more profound every time I consider them, and I'm grateful that I still recall them.
what a gift.
It's such a gift, such a gift, and so I don't see self-care as a product. I see it as a daily habit, a daily practice of refilling my well so that way I'm not narky to my kids when they get home.
Yeah.
I'm not just if we get tired and drained, that's when we become a really shitty human. It's when we
Yeah,
cut
to
people off in traffic. It's when
yeah,
we honk at people if they're not going fast
mm,
enough. if we just learn how to stop and breathe and connect with our breath, connect with nature, do some grounding, eat some healthy food, do the things and the habits of life. In the Japanese culture, considering your Kintsugi heroes, I watched a 7-step of Japanese culture of self-care, and they don't cost anything. And just the words and how it was like, "Oh, this is our practice of noticing the sunlight filtering through the leaves and the
Yeah, yeah,
shadow and the light
yeah,
and how that just helps the brain." Like, there's
yeah.
so many tools at our disposal to keep our tanks refilled so we can give to other people and give to ourselves.
So true. That's really profound. And sounds like you've really nailed ikigai, right? Which is like another Japanese process.
Which
Um,
apparently I heard last week has been westernized and completely not how the Japanese see it, but I'm sure you've
yeah,
heard that
I
too.
was reading the paper of what is the real
The
ikigai.
real ikigai.
You got, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is not the monetary,
There's no
capitalist this has nothing to do with
absolutely opposite,
capitalism.
right?
I think I'd probably answer this question different every single week if you ask me. It
Oh,
all
yeah,
depends
cool.
on my
Yeah, yeah,
mood.
yeah,
It's one of those questions that I think it would be very evolving. I'd love to hear the answer of, like, a
yeah. Other
90-year-old
people, yeah,
artist
yeah,
and
yeah,
versus a 20-year-old artist. Where I currently sit with that concept would be I find so much value in the creation process for myself.
yeah,
I also find so much value in seeing the response people have to the art, especially, for instance, I've got a
mm,
commission to do a piece for someone who lost their dog, and you do a pet portrait, and to see their smiles and their eyes get all
mm.
wet with tears, there's so much value in feeling like I help them process loss, and I
Yeah,
do portraits of people that have passed, and
yeah,
I've done things at funeral, like, all sorts of, way for bring value to people afterwards. I feel the whole it's I think it's probably very cyclical more so than linear,
yeah,
in the sense that I find value in the whole experience, whether
yeah,
it's the practice and the habit of doing something and getting better at it, the response and the experience somebody has in observing the artwork, and then
yeah,
also the financial benefit to be able to pay rent and feed my children
yeah,
through what I've created. I think it's a beautiful cyclical thing rather than um, a, a graph of value, and
yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, stop commoditizing art, right?
Yeah.
I've amazing. Which brings me to the idea that, you know, you what our journey is about a journey away from the things that, you know, might was struggled or broken or trauma, right? And you seem to have done that beautifully, right? Not that and life isn't full of ups and downs, but you know, enjoying the roller coaster and trying to flatten it out a little bit is, you know, a fine goal. From a Kintsugi point of view, as I think of the gold mortar that has stuck us together, what's your gold mortar? What are the things that are really sparkling in your life?
The healing power of love. I was raised in an environment where I was taught about unconditional love, but there was so much rules about receiving it.
Yeah,
And my partner Liz has taught me what unconditional love looks like because in previous relationships and experiences, it was, hey, I love all of you, but if you could work on this, that would be awesome. There
yeah,
was
yeah,
always a but.
yeah,
Whereas I sat down with Liz early on in our relationship, and we do it I guess, every few months. The discussion
mm,
kind of trails to that. And I'll say, hey, is there anything that is irksome? Is there
yeah,
anything that like really frustrates you that I could improve on, whether it's in communication and habits? And do I scratch my head too much? Whatever it could be. And she goes, no, I love everything about you. You don't have to change a thing. And in my head, I thought, well, wait, isn't there like a
right,
list of you have way too much ADHD and this type of
yeah,
thing. Can't you
yeah,
just stay on track when
yeah,
you're doing your art and not do the I'm so glad I asked her the question first because I had a laundry list in my
yeah,
head of going, "Hey, you can improve on this and this and this." And then I thought after she said that, I was like, this list is so lame.
Yeah, what a
My list
balm.
is so
Yeah,
shallow.
yeah, yeah,
Like, she's doing the best she can do as a mom with 5 kids, 3 with special needs. Oh my goodness. Rowan shoved that list down the toilet, just love unconditionally. And then
yeah,
my children, after leaving their father, I thought, "Oh my goodness, will they still love me? Am I gonna
yeah,
cause them trauma?" That's what kept me in it for so long is I didn't wanna
yeah,
cause them trauma. And
yeah,
they love me all the more now.
yeah.
And I find that love is such an incredible frequency, an incredible part of life, and we need to do everything we can to just grow in that and just love people like that. My word for the year is systems.
Systems.
It is
Wow.
the most bizarre word for a year that I've ever had,
Yeah.
and I realized things drive me nuts, but I'm not doing the action to allow it to work. Let me give you a perfect example. I
Excellent.
have weeds in my garden, in my beautiful garden where I'm growing vegetables that drive me insane. What did you do? You pull them up and they come back. Like,
Yeah.
this is not working. This is not working. So I spent 11 hours with my partner the other weekend and we ripped those suckers out. And then I put down not one, but 2 weed mats, y'all. And then I
Wow.
put mulch around the area. So now all the area that gets weeds around my garden that drive me nuts and impact the harvest of my fruit and veggies
Yeah. Yeah.
is done, and I keep looking out there every single week going, "Huh, there's not a weed. There's 2 weed mats covering those suckers up." And so that's a system. And then I walked into my kitchen and I looked at I just find one thing that irritates the crap out of you and go, "I'm gonna fix this. I'm not gonna let this keep irritating me." I had this
Yeah.
one container that kept getting so full of art supplies. I didn't know what was in it. I didn't know what
Yeah.
color paints. I didn't know what kind of pens were in there. I dumped it all out, found new homes for them, and made the container into something completely different that has made the kitchen feel so much better. And so I think it's like little baby steps like that
Yeah.
or
I
will
I
help my year flow.
I love that you're forgiving the system.
Yeah, totally.
Be Yeah, because I enjoy shaking my fist and grabbing a pitchfork like anyone else, but, you know, like, I love that. And that's a great idea. So in there is peace, is achievement, there's a lot in that, right? So what would you mentioned that your word for 2026. Um, what do you hope to see happen as a result of your, newfound engagement with systems or anything?
I think it will lead not only to more mental clarity, and it will also buy me time,
Yeah.
and time is our most precious commodity.
Yeah,
I'll
true.
instead of pulling weeds on the weekends, I can sit down and read a novel. Wow, what a concept. Or practice guitar, or play the piano. I can
Good.
do something else besides pulling weeds. It will also lead to more financial blessing because I've had such a dumb system. Let's be honest, no system when it comes to how to organize inquiries
Uh,
and who's asking for what, and I haven't had a good enough chart. I'll write it down on a sheet of paper, and then that sheet of paper gets put in a basket. I don't see it
yeah,
again. So
yeah.
I've printed out a graph and a table with the name and the dates and the email, the contact information, and I'm putting them where I can see them. So I think it's so basic and simple, and it seems like things that should have already been put in place, especially since I've been in business 21 years, but I just
Yeah.
haven't gotten around to it. And I think every day I'm finding myself with more mental clarity, less cobwebs, and definitely because I'm going through the fun joys of perimenopause, I definitely need those cobwebs clear as possible.
Well, just think, good time to think about the reframe of systems, right? You'll have a lot more time after menopause, right? Because, a whole aspect of human drive is sort of,
Yeah.
parked, right? So you don't
Yeah.
have to dive into all of that relationship angst. You can just carry on now
Yeah.
with.
And it's the
Yeah.
year of the fire horse, and I figure that sucker needs to just charge down the beach just free as a bird, and I don't want to have my lack of, clarity causing any trippage for that horse to have a really great year.
Trippage. And thank you. So just as we sort of come to the disappointing for me end of this conversation. I want to thank you for the two words, trippage and irksome. Right, they're just fabulous words that I don't hear enough in conversations. And I want to congratulate you on having such wisdom to share with us today. Right, it's been really, really. There's been a lot of gold. I hope people dive in and maybe go back to certain spots and listen to what you've offered us. And if they are so inspired, how do they find a way to engage with you or to see you or whatever? What's the best way?
artistsarahrowan.com. I'm Artist Sarah Rowan on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I mainly post to Instagram, and for every follower on Instagram, I plant a tree, so please feel free to
Wow.
connect that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, just I'm quite reachable. I try not to be
Yeah.
one of those artists that don't respond, so if you have any questions about life or whatever it is, just feel free to reach out. And I think it's really cool that we met when I was sharing about my tattoos, because one of my tattoos is Kintsugi on my right ankle.
Is that right? Oh,
Yes, you remember
fantastic.
that? Here, I'll show
Yeah.
you for those
Yeah.
watching. Oh, okay, so my cherries are colder. There, that one. Not
Oh, yes. Wow.
that one.
Wow.
Kintsugi.
That is the first sort of performance, physical performance art that I've done on
I
but I
forgot I
think
had a folding chair I'm sitting on. I wasn't flying for
but
those of you listening.
I think there's a place for this, right? I'm gonna develop the Rowan method of podcasting, right?
Oh,
So
we can do some juggling, all that sort of thing. But yeah,
that
I got Kintsugi with my partner after a year because we had both come from broken places in life, and we couldn't say the words "I love you" without being full of fear. And
oh,
so for
yeah.
the first year, we
Mm.
just said, "I Kintsugi you," because we could see that the gold in each other was healing the gold in the other person. And I think that Kintsugi is such a beautiful concept, and I love that you titled your podcast that.
Yeah, it was, it was inspirational, and, of course, putting ourselves together is the ultimate act of hope and faith um, and and commitment to the world, right? Because, you know, you can just let go. You don't,
Mm,
finding rebuilding yourself so that you're a functioning human being is an act of faith and hope, I reckon. So
yeah.
I love that. Your new life has been spectacular. Thank you for giving us an insight to that. And
Thank you, John, for having me.
yeah, I hope heaps of people get to experience the journey around your body and your art and your mind the way I have now. So thank you very much, artist
Thank you.
Sarah Rowan. Thank you.
Thank you.